Welcome to the second video of our two-part series, AI Fluent, Why Marketers Must Become AI Authorities. This episode sees the conversation shift to the challenge of marketing AI-based solutions in a sector muddied by hype and hyperbole. I'm Andrew Hobbs, Head of Content and Thought Leadership at the Channel Company, and once again, I'm happy to be joined by Izzy Rivers, Global CEO at Realm. Thank you, Izzy.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, as always. I'd like to jump in at the deep end, if we may. I'm not sure there is a shallow end with AI, but let's start by talking about sort of where we are in terms of the lay of the land in AI and what it means for marketers. I think we may well be at the peak when it comes to AI hype at the moment.
Well,
That presents both an opportunity and a challenge for marketers who are looking to sell AI-based solutions. There's also a huge information need and market appetite, but also a lot of noise to cut through as well. How do you see the outlook for marketers in the space at the moment?
a lot of our clients are doing marketing programs or promoting their AI solutions, or indeed the previous solutions they have that are now AI powered, because AI, of course, goes through the fabric of everything. And there's certainly a lot of opportunity and a lot of challenges with that, I would think. I'll probably just touch on a couple, and maybe you can tell me what you're seeing from your side. I would say that opportunity-wise, there's a huge opportunity to re-engage audiences that they've already had. So not just pushing the message out to new clients, new logos, new accounts, but also re-engaging conversation in a world where your own customers are more likely to churn, right? Loyalty is at a bit of a low, especially with the rise of us millennials. So, re-engaging with an AI message, reminding people why their product services are good, and upsell and cross-sell programs seem to be doing really well in the AI space, in the same way that cloud did back in the day when you were moving people off legacy databases. So similar to that, huge opportunity in keeping your base, expanding your revenue line items and increasing efficiency. And then I would say that the top challenge that we're seeing is that there's this, as marketers, and I love marketing, I've been in it a long time, have this really interesting tendency of inventing our own language, especially in the tech space. We've done it for a really long time, and I'm seeing that in AI now. We've been running AI programs for 2 years at least, and really keeping a watchful eye on how AI products and services are being promoted and being sold, and how those are being spoken about. It's really difficult to get that tone right and sort of really explain, okay, what's different now? How is this AI going to help me in a way that's understandable to the audience?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely seeing echoes of what we saw in the early days of cloud adoption. I do think it's really important to sort of understand the broader market. Like you say, probably the lowest hanging fruit is in existing customers. You've got those relationships, you've got that understanding of their existing technology setups and so on. But in terms of the AI market and opportunities beyond that, it's still relatively early days. Obviously, we've been talking about AI, even monetizing it for decades, but Gen AI has obviously set a light to that sort of hype and everything around it currently. But a lot of the monetization we're seeing, a lot of the financing is obviously to the left of that maturity curve in things like infrastructure, large language models. So we're seeing stock prices go up, but not necessarily a lot of revenue opportunities for most tech companies. So I think a lot of it is kind of to the left of that side. Jensen Huang, NVIDIA CEO, obviously doing very well out of AI at the moment. He talks about four waves of AI. The first I just mentioned in terms of infrastructure. The second is enterprise adoption. The third is adoption amongst sort of more specific industry verticals, more specific industry use cases, and then finally adoption amongst government. I think we're still kind of early on in that second wave at the moment. So I think understanding those opportunities amongst enterprises, those opportunities for things like productivity, savings, and often we're seeing in our research that it's the larger organizations that have more money to invest there as well. So I think that's certainly a focus for marketers, is building those relationships with either end users or those in the channel that have those larger budgets and can maybe take more of a risk in what might be perceived as sort of early stages at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's pretty right. And interesting as well when you mention the stage that we're at with AI, and now we're seeing marketers and companies attempt to sell their own solutions. what's the thing that resonates the most in the buying cycle? Proof points and case studies and use cases. And that's where everyone's like, we're doing a lot of work there to try and say, okay, you can engage a current customer, get them onto the platform and really get to a value proof point so that you can actually start speaking about, hey, buy this product and service, this is what you're going to get from it. That's what
Yeah,
will do more of the converting. And that is light in the industry at the moment, I would say, unless you're a very large company.
absolutely. Yeah. No, important not to just sell AI. You're selling a solution to a business problem, aren't you, essentially? And it
Well,
comes back to your point on making sure marketers aren't speaking their own language, but the language of the people that they're selling to. And yeah, when it comes to AI, you're selling to the entire business from top to bottom. It's got to be there's got to be buy-in across the board and across the workforce, hasn't there? Really. I expect we'll come back to that a little bit more in a moment. What's your advice to marketers looking to define their messaging around AI and sort of shape their campaigns at the moment?
there's a lot of talk at the moment where we're really bringing our clients back to the basics, which seems like a somewhat boring answer. But I think it's important to never forget the good old classics like the 4Ps or you need to have an audience first strategy and you need to figure out what the pain points are and what those people want to listen to. But really, if those foundations aren't there, and I think there is a tendency to just create AI specific content really quickly and start folding it into existing media campaigns and just assume that would do the job, like just putting the message into rotation will do the job. And it really does need to be thought about a bit more strategically in terms of what's the action that we're trying to get people to take from this piece of information or this piece of content. And bearing in mind that there's a very big gap to being told that our products and services are now AI and then actually buying it, having that full suite of the story instead of just, starting with one thing or another. I would think my advice would be really think about what it is that you're trying to achieve with it. Otherwise, you run the risk of running a lot of AI content and messaging without backing it up with anything. And then you fall into this maelstrom of people who are over marketing and there's too much AI messaging out there and everybody's saying the same thing. And we've got a cynical buying teams now. Those
Yeah,
people say, didn't I just watch this presentation last year about this product and service you have? Haven't I spoken to a BDR already? Why is it AI now? What makes it special? It's the
absolutely.
CV. Yeah, true.
Yeah, no, definitely got to speak to the value. And that's something we try to communicate with our clients and what we think about when we're producing content as well is try and talk around the real world use cases,
Mhm.
or maybe in cases where there isn't much adoption in the real world yet, try and do the research that shows, what's the current adoption levels, what's the outlook for 12 to 24 months, because I think that's when you start generating a lot of excitement as well as particularly around AI PCs. That's probably one of the lower hanging fruit at the moment. We've done quite a bit of research around them at the moment. And because adoption cycles are quite long when it comes to PCs, you're thinking 3 to 5 years. There's not always the use cases now, but it's something that IT buyers need to be thinking about now. So having that understanding of the market over the next few years, because it is going to change very rapidly,
Yeah.
what those opportunities will be. And, if you can't maybe provide, case studies today, provide examples where you're talking to your customers, maybe sharing that as content where you're saying, this is what they're excited about. These are their specific use cases that they can see this, adding real value, perhaps not today, but certainly within the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah. That's really important, especially when you're looking at the kind of audiences that are interested in this and what members of the buying group are now getting involved. It's all the way through, all the way down from the C-suite to the engineering team. And what does that exactly saying? What does that long-term value look like? Because I think when Gen AI was at the beginning of its hype cycle, everyone was like, right, go and buy some things that solve really small problems. And now that just exacerbates the tech stack and all the different people that you're working with. You remember that slide with like the million logos on it, the amount of pieces of technology that are within the MarTech and AdTech stack and then within business stacks now. So I think it's just being really smart about consolidated pieces of AI products and services that fit through the fabric of the business. So we're seeing more resonance with AI campaigns around supporting cloud infrastructure, for example, or AI-powered insights that will come in and collaborate with your business on versus a really small endpoint solution. that just isn't a big enough value exchange to make a commercial decision and bring yet another piece of technology on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're very much at that stage where what AI, the AI that is adding real value today is often in automating those repetitive but relatively simple processes that actually, are very resource demanding and therefore an obvious area for AI to exploit. And you touched on there in terms of things like business analytics. AI obviously very strong when it comes to pattern recognition, providing insights off the back of that. Obviously, a huge area of enterprise tech is cybersecurity. That's somewhere where we're seeing a lot of the real world use cases today is the ability to offer real time and always on monitoring that you can't do as a cybersecurity professional, and well trained cybersecurity professionals are in short supply and can't work 24/7. So that's a very strong area where there is definite opportunities for marketers in that space to present very real world examples of business ROI. This may depend somewhat on what's being sold, but are there any best practices when it comes to who you should be looking to reach, and in what ways when it comes to AI? I think you've touched on it a little bit already in terms of how it touches the whole business.
Yes, good question. We have data to back this up as well, because we've been running these campaigns for a good couple of years in terms of AI first campaigns rather than products that already had AI in them. We're seeing huge resonance with the C-suite for sure. And I think in part that's because companies that are buying AI products and services at the moment are the ones that have the strong mandate and direction from the board, because it takes that top-down leadership within a company in order to adopt AI programs either at scale or, in a significant purchase, especially in an enterprise organization, right? Somebody at the top needs to be making that decision. So they are looking to be incredibly informed, and they're looking to be informed in a slightly different way than perhaps an engineer, etc. That's why I say language is really important. They don't want to be bombarded with jargon. They want to be really just give me an understanding of how this is going to future-proof us for the upcoming 5-year period, and what it's going to get me, right, in terms of efficiencies or whatever that is. So most of our clients are really looking at that innovation layer, video, partnerships, high impact things specifically targeted to the C-suite to talk about AI in a way that cuts through the noise. With peers, very helpful. Using your own C-suite in the messaging, also very helpful, because we know that that's very peer-to-peer. So I would say do not underestimate the board in these companies where you're trying to sell in. And then, of course, you need all the other stuff as well, because the buying team needs the other bits and pieces, etc. But I think the board's where you need to be making an impact now. And there's another reason for that, actually, and that's because of the lack of case studies and proof points. Very hard to put together a traditional business case. But that's when I say, exactly as you were saying, look back to things like blockchain, where that also was pretty much a board decision, where somebody could be a bit irreverent here saying, I've read about this blockchain thing, seems super important, get me blockchain. That's kind of what we're dealing with. And then in terms of the tactics and approach, we took strong learnings from blockchain and cloud programs in the past and then pre-applied them, and then you just optimize from there. Don't start from scratch, because there's been a lot of digital transformations in the last 1 year, 2 year, 5 years. So you will have strong threads of data in your marketing department already that you can use to build the foundations of these campaigns, or at least, very least, your agency should have those and be able to prove those out for you.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a natural wariness amongst IT buyers of solutions looking for problems now. We saw it with cloud, where at one stage, it was felt that everything would eventually end up on the cloud, but today we know that that doesn't always make business sense, particularly in the back office, or if you've got specific security and regulatory obligations, for example. I think it's probably important to have a two-pronged approach to marketing with AI. Obviously, it's changing so quickly. I think you need that longer-term thought leadership piece, and I don't think you can afford not to be a thought leader when it comes to AI if you're a technology company today. And that's true as well if you're trying to reach SMBs, because they're not necessarily investing today. They're primarily investigating, but when they do start investing, you need to have that mind share have done that thought leadership piece to then be able to effectively, activate on that nurturing that you've done, and get them to, opt with you rather than the plethora of other options that are out there.
Yeah.
Just playing devil's advocate here, we've touched on it previously with mentioning blockchain especially. Is there a danger of AI being presented as a bit of a tech panacea in marketing, much like cloud and much like blockchain previously?
Yes. I think, well, there's a definite dangerous chasm before marketers, isn't there? Where it's like, tread carefully, don't promise the moon and the stars. I mean, it's marketing at the end of the day in AI. So there's always going to be that temptation to say this is a bit of a silver bullet and this is going to solve your problems, because you do kind of have to do that a little bit. Otherwise, you can't be too bland and logical when you're selling these things. Passion points work. That said, I think people know that AI isn't completely ready yet because it crosses over to the consumer space so much, right? So everyone knows about the hallucinations. Everyone's seen the terrible pizza adverts with Will Smith or whatever it is. And everyone's seen that picture where you ask AI how long a cow is and it's 2 cows behind a tree and it tells you it's like 15 feet long or whatever it is. So people know that AI isn't quite up to scratch. And I would say that is a danger in the decision-making process as well when people are looking. So that's another benefit to large companies, that whole we trust HP, Cisco, IBM, whoever it is, we trust them to deliver because surely they're too big to fail. I think a level of honesty is definitely required. It should be seen as a next step to work together and future-proof, not one thing that's going to come in and massively solve a piece of your business. But I mean, with these sort of innovations, I'm not entirely sure that's something that can be completely avoided. This idea of selling some is a challenge. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how well the companies that adopt AI early versus those that are behind the curve. I mean, my instinct, I'm very pro AI, is to say there'll be streets ahead, leagues, but that will come out in the next sort of 2 to 5 years. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's a balance to be struck?
Yeah, I think you are walking a bit of a tightrope. I think your point on respecting the knowledge and intelligence of that decision-making unit is key here, and I think it's key across enterprise technology in general. IT buyers, they're typically very well informed. They're time poor. You need to sort of meet them where they are in the mediums and formats that they need. I think AI, there obviously is that information need still. I think all vendors, all solution providers are clamoring for those real world case studies, those testimonies, those really hard hitting interviews, and that's what I think a lot of people will be trying to gather that body of supporting evidence currently. But both the channel and end user buyers, I think, are starting to understand AI. They're starting to lay out their sort of deployment, their buying strategies for AI. So I really think we'll see investment ramp up over the next 1 to 2 years, with huge opportunities for that. So I guess it comes back to that, that two-pronged approach, building that thought leadership side today. If you do have, genuine AI infused products today, then focusing on those kind of that ROI piece, that business case, reaching the entirety of that decision-making unit, because it's not just those on the technology and IT teams. The decision-making unit we find is often a dozen plus people. I think one person I spoke to said the decision-making unit for them is often 40 people. So that presents a real marketing challenge, and it sort of speaks to the wealth of activity that you need to be producing to address all of that as well.
Yes, and I think you can learn from your competition. There are people that have been doing this for a very long time. I mean, take IBM as an example. They've been balancing their multiple products and services, and getting in the revenue on the bottom line, while at the same time, with their huge R&D budgets, admittedly, really establishing themselves through DeepMind, through Watson, through all the work they do that's pushing innovation. So I think balancing brand and demand for our clients is one of the most important things. People will always ask the AI question. Just because they're coming to you on a product by product basis and they're buying you piecemeal and they're saying, actually, just give me this one piece of ERP technology, for example, if you happen to be a tech company, they will still ask, and where's the AI in this and how's it going? And so you can't not do it either. I think you have to have that story, and that brand touches everything that you do. So your perspective needs to be strong. But at the same time, it doesn't always have to be the driver of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll eventually reach a point where AI is baked into almost every technology solution, and it's just assumed rather than the focal point. Okay, Izzy, thanks for joining me again. I think we've just about covered that. Hopefully, those of you listening have found that informative. Once again, if you missed part one, it's well worth watching to learn about AI tools in marketing and tips for effective adoption. And do head to realmb2b.com and check out their Getting Real with Realma talk show series for more practical insights into AI in marketing. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.